Hey, welcome to Fanatical on BT. I'm very tired, coming live from my bed right now. And today, as always,
It's alive!
we have my co-host Lightning, we have Blaze again, who hasn't been here for a while, Aeon, and a special guest who Lightning will introduce.
Alright, well with us today we have a voice actor that has been working with me for, I'd say, much of the last year, I guess. He's done a lot of projects with us, and he's also been doing projects of his own, even professionally. So with us today is Kova.
Hello.
Hello,
Everybody. My name is Kovabomb.
So now, Kova, why don't you quickly start by telling us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about what you have been doing.
Okay. Well, I am currently a student studying manufacturing engineering, and voice acting is my hobby. It has been a natural talent for me since I was a kid. I was able to quote movies and do voice impressions since as long as I can remember. And as for like voice acting professionally and semi-professionally, that has been a more recent development. Being able to communicate over Skype with other people, I've been able to get involved in several big projects, and I was able to do a bunch of other projects by myself. That's kind of how I got noticed. And I've also done one professional gig. I have done an audiobook called Framed by Clara and Paulson.
Shit, if there's anybody I would want to do an audiobook, it's you.
Thank you. So that's a general overview. So I've been studying at university for a couple of years now. I should be getting close to graduation.
So now, before we start getting into the pony community and voice acting in the pony community, tell us about your professional gig. Like, what is the process like when you go into actually a professional setting and do voice acting?
Well, so are you asking how I got into the gig or what the gig is like?
Both.
Okay. So actually, the way that I got into the gig was my grandfather knew a couple of people at a place called Covenant Communications. He recommended me and said that I was very good at what I did, and they took me on for a project. So going into the studio, the way that they do it, each studio is slightly different. They have different priorities, different setups, and different scheduling. But the one that I was working at, the way that it worked, once or twice a week, I would go in for about a 2 or 3 hour session. And before you go into one of those sessions, they encourage you to drink a lot of water and to warm up, make sure that your voice is clear and clean. And when I would get to the studio, I would go back with the engineer. He would put me in the sound booth, and the way that we would record, it wasn't like 3 takes and best of 3. The way it would work is we would build as we went. So I would see this. I would have the script in front of me, and I had read through the script prior to this, so I was familiar with what I was reading. And so I would start reading, and he would start recording. And I would just read until I made a mistake. And then he would pause the recording, go back a couple of seconds to a clean break, and then have me start over at that spot. So basically, we would build on what we had, and when something needed to be fixed, we would fix it immediately and then move on. And that's the way that the recording went all the way through the book. And then at the end, he just needed to make sure that all the levels were complete and that everything was balanced. He would listen through to make sure that everything was as it was. But the way that we were recording it, he didn't need to do very much because we had already gone through as we were recording to make sure that there were no mistakes.
So, like, what kind of length are we talking about? And, like, it was like a go in one day, record the entire thing and be done, or was this like a longer book that had multiple recording sessions for it?
It was a novel, and it had, I would say, 6 recording sessions, each of them about 2 or 3 hours long.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 or 3 hours is about the limit of the endurance of the typical voice. So by the end of the session, you're constantly drinking water and gargling and making sure that your voice remains open and clear. And even doing all that, by the end of a session, you start to feel it. Your voice is like, and especially on a book that has a lot of emotion in it. Like, there were some sequences in the book where, I was playing a crime boss, and I was yelling into the phone. And so those sessions they were very fun, but at the same time, they could be tiring.
Well, where can you find this audiobook? Is it on Audible yet?
You can find it at, let's see, it's available through Deseret Book.
Okay.
And actually, on my YouTube account, there's a sample. I actually got permission from the publisher to post the first chapter on my YouTube page. So my YouTube page is Kovabomb, Kovabomb, and if you look there, you can see the first chapter, and you can get a sample of what it is.
And we'll be sure to link that in the description as well.
Of course.
So that was my professional gig. And the way that the payment worked by the length of the book. I was paid according to word count.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, different studios have different methods of payment, but doing it by word count, it translates into, the faster you do it, it translates into a higher wage per hour, so to speak. So there's an incentive to do things quicker.
So it's more set like a salary than it is a pay per hour.
Precisely. But like I said, different studios have different policies. Some voice actors are on contract, others are by the job, others are just
freelance.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to bring something up since we're talking about voice acting. Casey Kasem died the other day.
Yes, he did, and that was a huge devastation.
And of course, the voice that everybody on the radio is familiar with, I guess.
Yeah, what I loved about Casey is that he did. I think he did the famous Weekend Top 40 on a radio broadcast. I don't know if it was KLOS. I think it was KLOS that he did. The Weekend Top 40. But what was so cool is that he was Shaggy since the beginning. I mean, until Matthew Lillard took over the animation, he was Shaggy for like 40 years.
His last Shaggy role was Scooby-Doo and the Pirate Curse or something like that. Scooby-Doo, something like that. It's back in the 90s.
But the best one that I think he ever did was the one where they're going after the Yeti because
the best one he ever did.
Hang on.
Was,
the reason I say that, let me finish, BT. The reason I say that is because that's the episode where Shaggy's like, "Hey Scoob, you want to hear my radio voice?" And then he goes right into Casey Kasem, and I'm like, "Oh my god!"
I remember that. That was good. That was a good joke.
I'm like, "Oh my god, this freaking Casey Kasem!" And she's showing off Casey Kasem, and I just thought that was freaking fantastic. Huh?
You said she showing off.
I said he. I was slurring because it's 10 o'clock in the morning where I am. I'm not even used to waking up until about noon, but I hear a whip in his firebolt saying, "Hey, are you ready to go?" And I'm like, fuck.
All right, so I guess let's get into your work at the fandom, Kova. How did you get involved in, I guess, pony voice acting?
Well,
how did you become horse famous?
Well, tying back into how I got into the fandom in the first place, there was a guy I knew, and I considered him to be one of my most sophisticated and well-educated friends. He and I had very similar interests, and we got along very well in the professional atmosphere. And one day on Facebook, he posted a note about My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And I'm like, what the heck is he doing talking about this? And I was like, well, he's writing about it. Let's see what he has to say about it. So I started reading through it, and it was like, okay, interesting. And then he mentioned that John Delancey, the voice of the actor for Q, was involved in this. I was like, what the heck? They got Q to do this? Okay, now I've got it.
Which Q?
What do you mean, which Q, you idiot?
Well, no, Q for what?
From Star Trek. From Star Trek.
Idiot.
I never watched Star Trek. I'm not a freaking Trekkie yet. Yeah, hang on. Yeah,
I've never seen Star Trek either, yet I know who Q is.
No, it's my I play Star Trek Online, but I've never actually seen the series.
Well, and that's actually Star Trek: The Next Generation specifically.
Yeah,
well,
he
period.
Q
I've never
Star
seen
Trek.
the series.
Yeah, John Delancey played Q in Star Trek: The Next Generation, and actually in Star Trek Voyager, and he made an appearance in like Deep Space Nine. The one that you're thinking of in Star Trek Online, I think, is Q's son. But anyway, that's off topic. Anyway, when I discovered that John Delancey was in this series, I was like, okay, now I've got to take a look at this. So my friend had mentioned the episode in which he had first appeared, which was Return of Harmony. Those two episodes, that two-parter, was the first one that I ever saw. And from that, I was hooked. And so that's how I first got into the fandom itself. And then from there, I discovered all these other fan projects, and more specifically, Doctor Who's. That was the big thing that kind of woke me up to the voice actor scene. That there were all these radio plays and other things that were going on. I was like, that would be pretty interesting to get into.
Well, now, are you talking about like specifically like Doctor Who's Adventures, or what project was that you noticed first?
Doctor Who's and Assistant was the first one. Then Doctor Who's Adventures.
Oh, yeah, that's one.
And so, anyway, when I first saw those things, I was like, it got my attention, and I kept an eye on like Equestria Daily and other things like that, looking to see if people were looking for auditions. And prior to this, I had already done a whole bunch of other projects on my channel. What those were, I called them comic dramas. What they were Sonic the Hedgehog comics that I had taken and added voice, sound, and music, basically making a radio play of them, but putting it up with the visuals at the same time. So you could see what was going on, but you didn't need the visuals necessarily. That's why I call it a comic drama. And so people had noticed me already through that. And so when the audition came around, actually here on Nimbus Productions for, it was On Across an Arrow. That was the first thing that I ever did with you guys. I played Applebuck. That was the first fan project in the Ponyverse that I ever did.
Hooray, we got to you first.
Yay!
So, what would you say, what's your best, like, character from the show voice you can do? I've heard your Granny Smith, and it's fantastic, but I was just wondering,
Well, let's see. Just recently, Tirek is a favorite of mine. Let's see if I can pull him out here. But you are Discord. You are legend. You cannot possibly fall into the same trap as my brother. Help me to grow strong again and be rewarded with something far greater than friendship. Freedom.
Wow. Oh, good.
For a second, you know what? For a second, the distortion made it sound like you said French, not friends.
Friendship.
You know, and kind of, you know, just as a side note there, I was a little bit disappointed when he changed from kind of a more, you know, the voice definitely changed as he got stronger, and it was, and it was, that was kind of a letdown. I wish he had kept the same.
Turned into Iron Will.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but at the same time, he was. I mean, I would agree with the majority of the fandom that he was a pretty big and powerful guy. I mean, he's probably been one of the best villains in the show so far.
Metaphorically and literally.
No, everybody's chrysalis alarm just went off. Whoa.
Yeah, so let's see. Then, I would say, yeah, Tarek of the voices in the fandom, I would say, is one of the favorites that I can do. But other ones, I mean, there is Applebuck, of course, and there's Granny Smith. But let's see. Other voices, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I think the best way to do it is just see if, basically just experiment. That's the way I usually do things.
If I'm not mistaken, you also work with AR and Delta on their channel, Muscle 11 Productions, right? You're one of the new guys.
Who?
Am I correct?
No, that's not him.
No, that's Juhad and somebody else. I'm sorry, I'm thinking somebody else. All I know is I've seen your radio play of Arrow 18.
Oh, yes. That's actually something that I was doing by myself, and Firebolt actually agreed to host it on the Nimbus Production channel. That actually was an interesting tidbit, because when I first discovered that story, I really liked it, because it combined the Ponyverse with a feasible science fiction vibe to it. And I actually got in touch with the author and got his permission to do this audio series. It's actually linked specifically on FimFiction in each chapter that I've actually completed so far. He has it linked at the top of each chapter. And so,
that's cool.
But anyway, that project, with the exception of a few other voices like for Twilight Sparkle, I've been doing that entirely on my own.
And also recently, what was it? It was what was the song that goes along with that?
You're thinking of a different project. I actually have recently gotten involved with the people over at Pony in a Box doing an episode of Doctor Who's Adventures.
Ooh, don't tease us now.
And that actually, if the stars align, will actually be uploading today, hopefully, and you'll be able to hear the fruits of our labors. It's actually been an arduous task getting that thing together. And
please tell me you play a villain.
I don't necessarily play a villain, but you could say I did. Antagonist in a way, because the thing is that it's a character. Bad things just happen around him. He has no say in it, but his very presence is a curse. His very presence is a curse, and he tries his best. He does his best to help and do good things, but things just happen around him, and he can't help it. He's just a walking curse. So that's the character I play.
Well, that's pretty cool. You know, especially if you got noticed by Pony in a Box and they brought you on. Because, I mean, when you're talking about voice acting in a fandom, like, that's top tier Pony in a Box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's actually been, I mean, I don't want to go too much in detail, of course, because it's not my really place to say, but there's been a lot of drama in there trying to get this thing done. I would recommend going over to Pony in a Box's Tumblr and seeing what they have been posting there, because that will tell a lot of what has been going on. This episode has been a thorn in our side.
Now, are you a big Doctor Who fan?
Actually, I discovered Doctor Who through Pony.
Oh.
Before this, I had almost no inkling of what Doctor Who was.
Well, shame on you.
Listening to Doctor Who's is what got me, is what prompted me to look into Doctor Who. And so by now I have gone through the entire series of Doctor Who, and I'm familiar with what it is and all that stuff. And I really like it. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a Whovian, but I like the series and I respect it.
I mean, I have a giant poster for Day of the Doctor hanging above my bed, so I can't. I am a Whovian through and through. I also have all 7 seasons, or all 7 series on DVD, so don't, I mean. But I mean, one of the things is, I've always wanted to do something Doctor Who or Doctor Who's related in my writing, and at one point, whenever I was thinking about it in writing, I was thinking about characters, and I love you as Starshine so much. You play the perfect antagonist in my mind. You have the perfect voice for it.
Thank you.
And I was thinking, well, you would be great for the Master, just in general.
Hmm.
Just because you're very sophisticated and very, you think about all your words.
Very British.
Well, thank you very much.
It's like you're very interpretive and you're very British. That's all we need. Have fun.
Anyway, there's actually another project that I've been involved in. It's actually a branch off of Pony in a Box. It's another Doctor Who iteration. It's Doctor Who's The Great. And in that one, Trixie is the Doctor's companion. I've played a role in the second episode, which is going to be coming out soon. We don't have an exact release date, but it's in process of being completed. That should be coming out soon too.
I thought I heard something about a Doctor Who's show that had Trixie as the companion, but I hadn't actually seen anything of it. Is the first episode out now?
Yes, there are actually a couple of things out from Doctor Who's The Great. And see, the YouTube page is Doctor Who's GT, I believe. If you search that...
oh, yeah, we saw how well GT went with Dragon Ball Z. I just really hope they don't do the same thing with Doctor Who's,
Well, anyway, so it stands for The Great. TG, not GT, sorry.
Okay, there you go.
Anyway.
So it's transgender now. Okay.
Whoa. I mean,
so anyway, from Doctor Who's The Great, you've got their pilot episode, you've got a 50th anniversary episode, and you've also got a short out, which all of these put together are very, very fun. And so the way that the series plays out, Trixie is introduced to the Doctor post Alicorn amulet. She's trying to pick herself up and she's trying to reestablish herself, and that's when she meets the Doctor.
And can you tell us who plays Trixie in this series?
The voice actress's name is Tenkage.
Never heard of her.
And the voice actor for the Doctor, his name is Marivex. Both of them are also involved in Pony in a Box, and they actually Marivex helped with a bit of the editing on the new Doctor Who's Adventures, and Tenkage actually played a role in the new Doctor Who's Adventures episode as well.
I'm wondering if Tenkage was the one that played Trixie for Turnabout Storm.
No, it's not the same actress.
Okay.
Now, I have a very important question, because this is important in my mind. And their Doctor Who continuity is the Doctor from that universe, or was he once his normal human-looking Doctor?
In Doctor Who's The Great?
Yes.
Yes. The Doctor Who's from this one, he just has it's his first regeneration as a pony, and he's come from the main universe.
Okay.
But the catch is that he doesn't remember why he came. And he doesn't even remember who he was with last. He doesn't know how many regenerations he has left. For some reason, his memories of his most recent past have become fuzzy.
Well, that's actually pretty good, yeah.
It's going to be explained. I don't want to give anything away here, but the fact is that the Doctor, he remembers who he is and everything that he's done up to a point, but around the point where Clara first comes in is when things start getting muddy for him. That's the point where things start getting, well, actually, in a Q&A that they have posted on their channel, the Doctor actually states that after he experienced the events in the 50th anniversary, when he met, the Day of the Doctor, after that point, everything is kind of muddled for him.
Okay, because he said when he first met Clara, I'm like, well, are you talking about like the crashed spaceship Clara, Day of the Snowman Clara?
Yeah, but so when it was during the Clara time, and specifically the Day of the Doctor, that up to that point, everything else is fuzzy for him. He doesn't know how he came to the Pony Universe or why. All he knows is that he's here now in a new universe, clean slate, and he's going to make something of it.
Huh, well, that's interesting.
So, let's see. Anything else about those projects that I'm doing?
Well, do you have any projects that are not out yet that that you're excited for?
That you are allowed to tell us about.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I am currently working on the third chapter of Arrow 18. It's going slowly, but it should be out soon. And let's see, other things that I've been doing. There are a few Sonic projects that I've been involved in. One with who here is a bit of a Sonic fan?
I am, for the most part.
I've been playing Sonic since I was like...
Been playing it since the Genesis CD.
Yeah, I have.
I have Sonic Spinball on my...
The old stuff, yeah. The new stuff, not so much.
Okay. Well, online, in the Sonic comic books specifically, the characters that I'm most well known for are a mad doctor named Dr. Finidivus.
Oh, God.
Who is essentially the antithesis of Knuckles the Echidna. Then I'm also known for my Sonic voice, and I'm also known for my Scourge the Hedgehog voice. That's the one I'm most famous for.
Scourge is awesome.
Yeah, now, he's essentially the anti-Sonic.
I was going to ask, shouldn't that be
like
Shadow?
There are so many anti-Sonics, it's like, who can generally keep up? I mean, technically there was Metal Sonic, there was Shadow, Mecha Sonic, Super Metal Sonic, Liquid Sonic. It's like, how many freaking anti-Sonics are there supposed to be? Seriously.
Now...
It's one of the things that I don't know much about is Sonic, so...
here's a question, Kova. How do you feel about Sonic Boom?
I have not played that game.
Well, I mean, it's not out yet, but I mean, what do you think about the idea, and especially the reboot of the whole entire series?
Well, with reboots in general, I can understand wanting to get off on a fresh foot. Some of the designs, I'm kind of like, really? They go with that design? Well, let's see how it works out. The idea, I mean, I'm not all that familiar with the premise of what's going on in there, but I'd say with all the brouhaha that's been going on with the Sonic stuff and all the clamor from the fans of going back to the roots and all these things, I would say that kind of starting over in a sense would probably be a good idea. That way they don't have to take into account all these other things that have happened in the past. Basically start off on a fresh foot. So, mixed feelings, I'd say, but probably a good idea.
Wait, it was a game? I thought it was a new TV series.
It's both.
It's both.
Yeah. So, since, I don't know, I just thought about this video game. Did you guys hear Capcom is up for corporate buyout?
Yeah, I heard that.
For who?
For anybody. They're just like, hey, if you want to buy us, come buy us. We're okay with it. Which, at this point in time, might be smart with Capcom because, I mean, they're getting...
I was going to say that might be bad, too. I was going to say that might be bad too, because I mean, Capcom has made some pretty successful games on their own, and if someone ends up buying them out, then ends up making either crappy games or just freaking, a company tries to buy them out.
What I could see,
let's be honest.
I don't.
The only thing
Don't
they
touch
need
Resident Evil.
No, if somebody buys them out, they just need to fire the entire Capcom writing staff and hire a new one, and then they'll probably be golden.
Well, honestly,
no. Go ahead.
Well, what I was saying is that there's some studios out there, like, for example, if Bandai Namco picks them up, I could see that being really good.
Yeah.
I want Nintendo to buy them out just to piss off the Resident Evil fans. That way they have to buy
as long as they don't mess up the Resident Evils, I'm fine with it.
Because this is what I'm worried about. If you have one of the three major companies, which is Microsoft, gaming industry, the Sony Entertainment, or Nintendo, I mean, if they want to buy them out and they decide, hey, we're going to be assholes and we're going to basically say, hey, we're going to make Capcom games only for our system, that's what I want to avoid. Because, if Sony buys them out, I don't want to have to buy a PlayStation 4 if I want to play a new badass Capcom game,
There's such thing as a badass Capcom game? What?
Yeah, Lost Planet 2 was like the greatest freaking game they ever made.
No, it wasn't. You shut up.
I like that. It's like you're stuttering and you don't even come up with a great insult, which means you like it.
I'm tired. No, because I played enough.
Yet. You haven't taken
enough
the
Lost
BT
Planet
pills.
2. I played enough Lost Planet 2. That game didn't have a story. That's my problem with it. The only good games they ever made were the Dead Rising games.
Those were great.
Awesome.
I haven't played 3 for obvious reasons.
Have you guys touched the new DLC for 3? The Dead Rising Super Ultimate Mega Hyper whatever. I don't know how it has a long ass name. It's basically an arcade Dead Rising.
I just said I haven't played it, so.
Well, it incorporates everything from all the other Capcom franchises. Like, there's a mode where you have to beat the shit out of a car. Like in Street Fighter 2.
Street Fighter.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like the Dead Rising games were horrible if you played them alone. They were only ever good if you ever played them like co-op.
That's nonsense. I played all of them alone and they're fine.
I could not get into 2. I tried to play 2 alone and it's just like this is boring.
2 has a great soundtrack though, so I'll give it a pass.
I'm just sitting here on the sidelines. I've never played the games you're talking about.
Oh, well.
I never beat the first one. I played the hell out of 2, and then I played the hell out of Off the Record.
And we never talked about E3, so hold on here anyways. Just pointing that out.
I barely watched E3.
Well, I mean, we kind of avoided E3 for a reason, but...
Yeah, well, that reason's passed.
Right, yeah. And we might go into it in a future episode. But I wanted to actually go into a little bit about voice acting as a whole, and most of us here are actually voice actors as well. Do you guys want to get into the reason you guys got into voice acting?
Sure.
Sure, that sounds great.
Who gets to start first?
Yeah, Fireball, you choose who starts first. Or actually, why don't, since you're practically the leader and owner of Nimbus Productions, why don't you go first?
All right, well, voice acting for me was not, I mean, like, when I got into the fandom, it wasn't necessarily something that I even had planned in the first place. I originally started out, like, when I decided I wanted to give back to the community and actually do something for the community, we started with reviews of the episodes. That lasted all, 3 months or whatever before copyrights happened and stuff like that. But it was when I restarted the channel and got the lightning round going that I met up with Robot Butterfly. Robot Butterfly was one of the voice actors for Midnight Magic Productions. They were the ones that were doing things like the vinyl scratch tapes, and she was also involved with Pony in a Box Productions as well. and when I got together with her for doing the lightning round, I started talking to her about voice acting, what it's all about, and she's the one that actually got me interested in it in the first place. And it was after that I met Louis Bedalament, who was in charge of the Reharmonized Ponies series. Doing the audiobook there, and I thought, let me talk to him and see what he's got available. And it was through that project that I started doing the voice of Spike. And he actually said, why don't you make up a voice reel and do it that way? And so actually on my channel, it's still one of the oldest videos I have on my channel, which is just my interpretation of Big Mac, Brayburn, Discord, and Spike. Because this was pre-season finale too, so I didn't try out for Shining Armor or anything like that. Yeah, that was how I first got into it, and since then I've done a couple roles. My Big Mac is what I'm known for the most, and so I've been doing a couple projects as Big Mac, but other than that, not too much.
Cool.
I guess I'll go next. Anyways, for Pony, I was always interested in voice acting, I guess. It's one of those things where my voice is very odd.
Really?
I guess. Yeah, I have that lisp and my voice is very nasally and blah, blah, blah. And I only have a very limited range, but whenever somebody goes, hey, we need this character, and I go, I can do that character. Like, the first thing I ever did was, a mutual friend of ours, Schlumpy, well, Minor Lightnings anyways, he was doing this, series called Prince of Equestria, and he wanted a diamond dog. And I can do a fantastic diamond dog. No, you can't get that rasp, I can't do it right now, my voice is gone. I'm not awake. Anyways, it's one of those things where I auditioned, he went, yeah, that's perfect. And then that series never took off the ground, so it's like, I've been going around, I've been looking for other voice acting opportunities. I always audition, I never get anything, that's just me. I think because I never audition for what you gotta know your limits, you gotta know your talent when you're auditioning for something. That's one of the things where I'm always too ambitious. I'm like, I can pull this off, I know I can, and then I can't.
Well, I can, simply because auditions for Fallout Equestria close tomorrow, and by the time this goes up on YouTube, it'll be announced anyway. As of now, if I don't get anything stellar by tomorrow, you're going to be playing Red Eye.
Woo!
Yar.
You're welcome.
I can do a very good Thank you. I thought so, at least. Anyways, and it's one of the things where whenever I started writing Destined, and I realized, wait a minute, I'm writing this series, I can give myself a role. I will admit, maybe that's me being a little selfish, I gave myself a villain role, sure. It's something I can do, that cross between the Joker and the Mad Hatter, that's definitely in my range. And
The Mad Joker?
yeah, and so, that's just me, I'm still doing voice acting every once in a while. I'll pick up a microphone, record something, and of course you all get to hear my lovely dulcet tones every Thursday at noon, so. Alright, on to the next one. Let's go to Blaze. You're a guy who talks.
I am a guy who talks, and unfortunately, sometimes I feel like I'm a woman who talks out of the other parallel. Anyways, but for voice acting, I have been voice acting since I was 8 years old. What got me into it was my dad. He did it. He used to do stand-up comedy at these other bars, and I would hear him a few times doing these random voices in the house and accents and stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's fascinating. I want to do something like that. So, like, around 8 years old, I started to watch movies and just be with cartoons. And my greatest accomplishment, I'd say for myself, just in general, is that the one time I was sick for like a week with pneumonia from school, and Atlantis: The Lost Empire had just come out from Disney.
That's a great movie.
And I would literally be sitting in my room, laying there, watching the movie like 20 times a day, no kidding. And by the time I was done being sick, I could quote the entire movie, even in Atlantean, from the very beginning to the very end, without a script, for the entire time. I should have put that down in recording at some point, but what got me into voice acting in general was just the fact of like, I have this talent. It may not be natural, but it's something that's fun because you can play around with people. And for me, professionally, I call myself a professional impersonator because as much as I have my own unique style, I do better at aiming to impersonate other people because it's a challenge. It gives me a good example to give me a new range, to give me a new voice, like Mickey Mouse to, say, Christopher Walken to Sean Connery to Jeremy Irons. It's like they're all completely different voice ranges, and it's like, okay, what can I do to better myself? It's like, okay, let's practice to get that range or to get that accent or to do anything like that. And that's just mainly where my professionality lies,
And where did My Little Pony come into that?
My Little Pony actually, okay, this was actually at June of 2011. I was at a party, and these guys were playing Ponies the Anthology 1 when it had fresh come out. And I'm going, oh God, My Little Pony, such a girly show, yada, yada, yada. And then because it's a half-hour little shindig, so I just sit down and I'm watching, and I'm like, okay, it's kind of like Robot Chicken. Okay, it's kind of funny. So, and being considered that I was coming into it, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go home. I ended up sitting down, turning it on, and I watched it. I literally watched it about 3 or 4 times, laughing my ass off at just how it was. And then I'm like, okay, I think it's about time I watched the original series. I watched the entire series 4 times that day. I even called in sick for work going...
Now, are we talking about Season 1 or Season 2?
Season 1. No, Season 1. Back when Season 1, it was right before Season 2, because it was the summer of Season 1. Or the summer after Season 1. No, the summer after Season 1 was over.
I'm thinking.
So, like I said, it was June 2011. Anyways, so... I sat there, and I literally, like I said, I called in sick for work, and I watched the entire series 4 times that day, and I thought this is amazing. And then after that, it's like, oh, I have the range to do people like Brayburn and people like that. And then as the series progressed, I'm like, wow, I can do Shining Armor if I try hard enough. I can do Mr. Fancy Pants. I can even do Honky Tonk. I'm sorry, Hoity Toity. I don't know why I said Honky Tonk. I can do if I try
for shame.
Yes, for shame, all you ugly bastards. But no, and that's pretty much what got me started in the series, and I've been into it ever since. I sadly admit that I had to get on the Alicorn bandwagon, but with me, I never tried...
The Dragon Alicorn bandwagon, which is like the worst bandwagon.
Shut up, bitch. Anyways, so...
It has square wheels.
The thing is yes, it's because that crimson red and that dark shadowy gray are my 2 favorite colors. I'm like, okay, since black with red accents is kind of too common, why don't we do red with a little bit of gray accents? And we'll make him the bad guy, but we'll make him a bad guy with a good, with like a good experience, like multiple personalities.
Okay, before we get too far into your OC, which is a pit in and of itself, I can believe everything in that story, except for the fact that you went to a party. That's I'm the
entertainment manager of these parties. After going to these parties for 4 years, I'm now the entertainment manager.
Uh-huh.
He is a DJ, after all.
Well, no, you're the DJ here, Lightning. You're M-Dubs.
But, and now, of course, Blaze voices an Irish pony. So,
Yes,
Yar.
Yar? I guess you also
No, I go Yar because I'm also Captain Rig. So.
Captain Rig.
Hey, Captain. 4-year-olds the cannon and give them bastards no porter.
Now,
So
see,
let's us with Aeon.
We were not going to do
what?
anymore.
Aeon, that leaves us with you. Why don't you...
Hold on. There's something I want to talk about. Is I think that Kova and Blaze have probably the best chemistry I have ever witnessed between two different voice actors for their roles. Because it's one of those things where every time I write a script and we're rehearsing it or something, and a part comes up with Starshine and Spectrum, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh, this is gonna be fantastic! I can't wait to see how they do." And it's one of those things where I don't even write it to be that funny or anything, but you two, the way you pull it off is just golden every time. And I can't wait for everybody else to get
right? You know why, right?
Because you're goofy and serious. You're like the odd couple.
Well, no, because me and Kova are brothers. We're related.
Uh-huh.
No.
I think I just heard a gun talking. Oh, God. Oh, but don't.
Let's see.
Okay, anyways, on
It's
to
getting
you,
close to
Aeon.
the top of the hour.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to get through with Aeon, and then we'll try to wrap this up.
Well, with me, I'd say, let's see, well, I don't know. I've always liked voice acting. Like, I would just watch movies and be like, this actor's really good. And then I'd watch cartoons and be like, who voiced this character? And then I'd get my brain splattered across the wall because I'd be like, oh my god, this guy voices this and this and this, and all that stuff. But then, you know, one day I'm just scrolling through Equestria Daily and I see the ad for the Past Sins thing, and then I tried out for it. I tried out for like every male role practically, and then I only got a guard.
Yeah, I got the other guard, so how do you think I feel?
Yeah, I got a guard, and then I kind of just stuck around. Fireball asked if I could narrate. I tried, and then next thing I know, I narrated an entire Flash game. And now we're moving on to my favorite fanfic of all time, Fallout Equestria. Oh wait, is this about voice acting or fanfics? I forgot.
Both.
I've kind of just been half paying attention this whole time. My mind is on food. I haven't eaten.
We're talking about getting into voice acting.
Ah, well, that's pretty much how it happened.
We're talking about tacos.
Stop.
Tacos.
Stop. I don't have money to go buy food. Oh wait, I have tacos for dinner today. Yes. All right.
It's Taco Tuesday!
No, it's not.
It's Thursday.
Thursday. We were going to have them on Tuesday, but a lot of shit happened.
It's Taco Thursday.
It's Charlie's there on Thursday. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, now I have to, thanks. Now I have to go watch it.
Yeah, that's how I got into voice acting. I just saw an ad and thought, you know, this sounds like fun. I took acting classes in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Acting.
But, I mean, voice acting, you know, especially in this community, voice actors are usually in high demand. There's obviously some that are more well-known than others, but there's just a lot of talent in this community.
It helps them. I'm a big fan of
yes.
Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Full suit! Why all this crazy shit happening to me?
You are way too vulgar. You need a...
Every day I'm shuffling off this mortal coil.
She speaks
Every day I'm shuffling.
Every word stabs.
Alas, poor York. I knew him well, Horatio.
Sam.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And now I don't want to be wrong because I never read, the only Shakespeare I ever read was Romeo and Juliet and Julius Caesar.
I hate
Wasn't
Romeo and Juliet.
a horse, my kingdom for a horse from a Shakespeare play?
That
Yes.
was, that was King
Henry
Richard.
VIII?
Or, yeah, Henry VIII. No, I thought it was,
King Lear?
I thought it was King
I'm pretty sure it
Richard.
was Henry VIII.
That was
A
King
horse,
Richard's life.
my kingdom for a horse.
He wrote about a lot of kings.
A pony!
Yeah,
a pony!
That is,
my kingdom for a pony!
Of course.
yeah, that is Shakespeare. I can't remember which of the plays it was, but it was one of the kings that he wrote for. Shakespeare wrote a play for each of the kings of England of his time.
And the rose by any other name is just as sweet.
That sounds
Hate
like,
Juliet. I hate Romeo and Juliet. It's the dumbest love story ever. It's so
Man, you're
stupid.
making it sound like some kind of Greek tragedy.
What? You mean like,
They fall in love at first sight, which doesn't happen, and then they kill each other, or themselves, whatever. It's so stupid.
You don't
And then
think,
you're teaching this to kids in high school, and then they get this idea in their head, and then, yeah, my high school was kind of a mess because of Romeo and Juliet.
What? Aeon, you don't think that 7 days with like 14 murders and 2 suicides is good?
I like the murders and suicides, but the dumb love story makes it stupid. It's like Final Fantasy X. I didn't play it for the love story, I played it for the gameplay.
But you got to admit that there are others that were very good, like Hamlet and...
Yes.
And,
I have Twelfth Night. That's my favorite.
Not
Hamlet.
to be what? Sorry.
Not to be dead. Hamlet is my second
you're
favorite. Twelfth Night is my favorite. Then there's Midsummer Night's Dream. As You Like It. That's a good love story right there.
I played, I played Puck.
I saw the play of that. I actually saw like a live thing of that in a park in Lincoln.
Lincoln Park?
No, Lincoln.
Yeah.
No, Lincoln, the capital city of Nebraska, where I live. Like, I actually, this weekend, I'm going to see a Shakespeare play. I forget the name of it. Now that I remember.
You only wrote, like, a lot.
I know, I'm seeing one of them. I'm seeing one of them this Saturday, and it's like a live thing. It's played by, who are they called? The Flatwater Shakespeare Festival? Something like that? They're really good.
I think my favorite freaking love story would have to be The Beatles Across the Universe.
So, I guess...
What is that?
Just like...
What, you've never heard of The Beatles Across the Universe?
I've heard of Across the Universe. Across the Universe is a movie that came out, like, a couple of years ago, but not The Beatles.
No, the Beatles, that's the whole point, is the Beatles were the ones that did the background for the movie, so they actually consider it a Beatles album.
I hate to tell you, that movie came out like 2008 or 9, and there's only 2 Beatles left. So
well, I mean, it wasn't new stuff.
Yeah, I never said it was new. I just said I like it because it was Beatles and it was a love story. So let's continue on. We got like 15 minutes left.
Well,
5 minutes, more like it. 5.5.
9. No, it's 12:51.
Whatever.
It's 12:53.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're gonna start arguing about time. Time, Doctor.
Don't start with Half-Life.
The time is a strict progression from cause to effect, but actually from a non-linear, non-subjective view, it's actually this big ball of timey-wimey stuff.
Oh, you gotta love Blink. That was a great episode. God bless Steve Moffat sometimes.
I think that's the best episode of Tennant's career.
'Tis but an hour ago since it was 9, and after 1 hour more, 'twill be 11.
I mean, Tennant's best episode would have to be The Girl in the Fireplace, or The Satan Pit, or 42.
Oh, God. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
No. It was the thing that they only had 42 minutes to save a ship that was hurtling into a sun.
Yeah, but, I mean, 42 is the answer to the answer to the greatest question in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You gotta admit, people do this kind of stuff just as an homage.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's always references and stuff like that.
Yes.
I know a thing or two about references, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Diggity.
that's
and thereby hangs a tale.
But it is getting to be at the top of the hour. Kova, thank you for coming on the show with us today.
No problem at all. I enjoyed myself.
That's scary.
We enjoyed having you. You're a great guest. I've always wanted you on here, but I guess we never had time. Or like we should be
Yeah. So, it really depends on my schedule, but I would be fine with coming back on some other time.
Yeah, of course. I mean, whenever we have, whenever our schedules mesh up and stuff like that,
And I will say this has to be the least vulgar episode we recorded so far. It's amazing.
Thank goodness.
I think we've had 2 swear words at most
3
this episode.
No, not lightning.
I said one.
Blaze. No, Blaze has said a lot of them. I said like one, and then
I said 3. I've only had 3.
No,
and I
you
counted.
said a lot. You said a lot.
Adieu, Hamlet, avenge me.
But anyways,
I have been DT. Hello, goodbye.
Yes.
Adieu.
I've been